Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Early Late Nights, the show filled with facts, a show filled with news, a show filled with a damn idiotic host himself. And that host is the one here today, introducing the one, the only, Ciaran Marchant. Thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction again. I don't know, he called me an idiot though at one point, but it's not what we're here for. I don't hold no grudges, especially not against my own show's announcer. Top bloke that man. Thank you for joining us here on Early Late Nights, the Explosion Network's live Twitch game news show, right here on twitch.tv/Explosion Network every Tuesday and Friday at 6:30 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time. Hope you had a beautiful week. Hope you had a good week. It is the week's end. About to go into Saturday and Sunday. We've got a whole 3 days of playing games. It's going to be fantastic. I hope you're excited. San Diego Comic-Con's going on right now in America, so there's going to be a whole bunch of news and things. Don't know if you saw, but at the San Diego Comic-Con, there has been shown along with the announcement, the forthcoming Spider-Man PS4 game console exclusive. Like the actual console. There's a PS4 Pro edition of the game coming out. Pro edition console for the game. Word that better, Ciaran. Coming out, and it looked really good. I really liked how the red looks on the console. You should really check it out. It looks fantastic. And part of me is like, I don't need a new PlayStation, but that's super tempting. They look super nice. Too much money. Too much money. If you didn't catch Tuesday Night Show, go back and watch it on our website. It was a pretty good one. We talked about the Uncharted fan film with Nathan Fillion starring as Nathan Drake. I loved it. Go back and check that out, as well as What Do You Want to Watch, our media podcast, where I talk about that there as well. Amy Hennig has come out on Twitter and said it was fantastic to see her creation and like the characters that she brought when she was with Naughty Dog come to life, it's fantastic to see. It was really good to see. It was really funny. The article I actually read that on, were like, Naughty Dog comes out and approves of them, and it's like, well, not really. Amy Hennig came out and approved, and Neil Druckmann liked it. That's approval, apparently. That's good on you, Neil. Whatever. Clickbait. Also in news, revolving around Nathan Fillion, and this must be something to, like, it's not to do with the Uncharted thing. So Nathan Fillion will not be playing Cade 6 in the up-and-coming Destiny 2 DLC, which is quite upsetting, because a lot of people absolutely love Cade 6 from Destiny 2 and Destiny 1, but especially his part in Destiny 2. He had such a bigger role, he had more character, and I think he was a lot of people's favorite characters, and to not have Nathan Fillion come in, and it kind of adds more to the meme of just get Nolan North to do it. He can do anything. What a guy. Check out Nolan North and Troy Baker's Retro Replay YouTube channel. It's really good. But we have a show to get on to, people. We have a show to get on to. Tonight I'm going to be talking about the Culling 2. Its quick, not rise and big fall. We're going to be talking about World of Warcraft's latest patch problems. Also Overwatch's latest news with the Overwatch League semi-finals currently playing out. And then I'm talking about board games. Board games have been back in the world of pop culture in a bigger way recently in the last, year. And are they cool again? That's the question we're going to talk about during the tidbit of the show, but that's a long way away. Well, it's a bit away. I'm not going to rush it. Let's have some fun. Let's enjoy it. Let's dig straight in, because, my God. So, if you are a PC gamer, you probably know about the Culling. If you're a PC gamer and you don't know about the Culling, I understand. It's probably fair. So, the Culling was one of the original Battle Royale games. So, this preceded PUBG. This was at the same time as H1Z1. It was shot as this game show where it had this massive announcer and it had these weird gadgets and all this stuff and all this kooky stuff. And it had a pretty good fan base. At its height, it had concurrent 12,000 players. That was back in February 2016 when it was first released as an early access game. That came out and it carried some steam until games like PUBG started coming out and it began to evolve and continue. Then by the time when it came out of early access in November 2017, the game had fallen to 100 concurrent users. Ugh, that's a bit rough, isn't it? That's a bit bad. But the developers then went quiet in December of last year. They went quiet. They stopped releasing updates for the game. They just kind of were like, well, whoops. And then flip forward to July 2018. They release the Culling 2. The Culling 2 came out, and boy, were they expecting something much better than the reaction they got. Within the first day, it had, a couple 100,000 people buy the game. By the second day, there were 2 people playing the game. That's bad. That's really bad. To have the second day of a brand new game coming out like the Culling comes out and 2 people are playing the game. So, devs have come out. They're offering a full refund to anybody who bought the game. They have now taken the game down. They've taken it off Steam. They've taken it off Xbox, off PlayStation. Whatever platform you bought it off, they're taking it away. They're giving everyone their money back. They've also now said they're going to be dedicating more time and resources back to the Culling 1 to provide more updates and software improvements to that game in the coming future. And that's terrible. That, in this day and age, it proves that the Battle Royale phenomenon has slightly lost some steam, that a lot of people have found their home with Fortnite, or if they're still hanging on to PUBG, they're on PUBG, but these new Battle Royale games are going to find it harder and harder and harder to find a home. We're already seeing that with Rascal Heights? Rascal Flats is the band, Rascal Heights is the game. That seems to have disappeared off the face of the earth. Battle Royales aren't instant money anymore because everybody's playing Fortnite, and Fortnite's doing such a good job of it. I'll give it to Fortnite. I hate Battle Royale games, as I've said many times on this show, but Fortnite's done a really good job of improving and changing and altering their game to keep players interested. Their latest update is actually pretty cool in my opinion, so keep up the good work from them. To see this happening, it's a good thing and a bad thing. It shows evolution in the gaming market, shows that people know what they like. A lot of the devs have already come out and said, in regards to the Culling 2, that they understand that they missed the mark with what their current players wanted. They've missed the mark with everything that they changed from the Culling 1 into the Culling 2, and they're going to make up for that by going back to the Culling 1 and releasing more updates and continuing to work on that game. To see this was steadily, I think this was in a 1 or 2 week period that this change happened, where the devs went back, thought about it a second, and then went, oh, okay, yeah, let's take it off the market. And to take the game off the market is a big decision, especially by the dev. I'm interested to see what the future of this dev is, if they have a future at all. It's not looking good. It is not looking good. If you bought the Culling 2, make sure you contact whoever you bought it from, get that refund. The servers aren't going to be there anymore. There's no game to play. It's not like there were people to play with even if the game was there. So, do your best. Do your best with it. Good luck. If you got any comments on the Culling 2 or your thoughts on this effect on the Battle Royale landscape or what this shows of our gaming community going forward, please yell it out during the show. Let me know. We'll get right into it with the second topic. Going from a complete flop to probably one of the financially most successful games in the history of gaming. And I'm talking about World of Warcraft, Blizzard's juggernaut MMO that has been running for a ridiculous amount of time now. Everybody at some point has most likely played WoW. If that means you've picked up a demo disc from the shop from a local shop for free, you've jumped into it with friends for a month, you've tried it since it went from level 1 to 20 for free, any of that, yeah, you've probably played it, and you've probably either had some fun or completely hated the game, as most people do. It's completely understandable. It's one of those games where it's altering, and I've had my fair share of time with World of Warcraft, and I found it quite enjoyable for the time I did have. But it's had fun moments. So we're heading into the month before the next expansion. Battle for Azeroth is coming. It's going to be out in August. I believe it's August 9th. I'll double check that. It's going to be in August. And so what happens for the developers during this time is they actually start bringing in updates to change the game preemptively for that expansion, so it isn't such a big change and a big swing, getting through some of that teething problems. Normally it's a bug here, a bug there happens with it. This one's been a total fucking disaster. a total disaster, which is very unlike Blizzard. It's very strange for Blizzard to be doing this, but it happens, and it does happen to say the least. So what's happened is patch 8.0 was released and put out into the world, or into the wild, pardon me, and has brought its fair share of bugs. But WoW does this thing where every couple of expansions they realize that the numbers for the damage, for the spells, for the boss's health bars are getting fucking ridiculous. And they do this. They go, wait, there's going to be too many fucking zeros. We can't keep doing this. And so then they try and squash all of those stats down. They start bringing them down. They start kind of, squishing them in, packing them in, changing them. And they've realized now that what they did in 2008 with World of Warcraft, which was a much smaller game, is no longer going to work in 2018, 10 years later, when they have something ridiculous like, I think it was like 250,000 spells, 160,000 different items that could be used in the game. It's a huge game. And I was watching a Twitch stream the other day for Soda Popping, because I really enjoy his content, that I found I always remark at World of Warcraft at how truly amazing that world is, how much you can just walk around and explore. It's a real world with a real design. It's on such a big scale. It's the coolest shit, it's so cool to play. And I'm always tempted. There's always something in the back of my mind tempted to go back and play World of Warcraft. There's something always, tempting me to go dive back into the game and change the game again. And that's something, because they do some really good work with the game. They add in small quests, they change it over, they bring it in. Kilobyte, my god, Ciaran is talking about WoW. Yes, I am, because I thought this news was really interesting, how much the changes, and one of the biggest factors that changes. So when they've do what they call the number squash, when they've squashed or changed all the numbers, they've apparently altered the game in such a way that leveling is the worst grind it had ever been. And WoW leveling at times can already be a grind. But now it is the worst grind ever. They're currently working through and fixing it. They're developing a new system. So in the future, these number squashes are going to be so much easier. The math they have to do to, divide the numbers of the spell damage amounts and the weapon damage amounts, they're changing that and altering that and going about that differently. It's going to take some work. It's really disappointing, and Blizzard have come out with an apology for the state of World of Warcraft at the moment. It is a bit disappointing. There are quest chains that don't work right now. They are, and Kilobyte said most of the stat squashes are fine for the most part. It's just overall, it seems to be making things a bit grindy or making enemies too hard to kill. I think is the biggest one, is that there might be a differential between health bars and the amount of damage you can put out now. So It comes on the back, and it comes on the back. This kind of overshadows some really great news. So I don't know if you've heard this, but World of Warcraft has now changed its subscription system. Previously, you had to buy the base game as well as every other expansion to get the game and to play the game. If you didn't, you bought the game, you bought the original game, you'd get nothing out of it. You get the first 60 levels, and that was it. They've now actually altered their subscription service for $16.50 a month, which is the base subscription fee now for World of Warcraft. You'll get every expansion pack with that subscription except for the latest expansion. So if you want to start playing now in preparation for Battle of Azeroth, maybe give it a bit for them to fix some of the numbers. $16.50 a month is all you're going to have to pay now. You're not going to have to buy the expansions. You're not going to buy anything else until the newest expansion comes out. When you're ready for it, you buy that and you jump into that. And I think it's fantastic. It's another reason it's not a reason for me to jump back in, because it's WoW and I've already got all the expansions. But at the same time, I think it's interesting enough for maybe to jump in. That could be kind of cool. That could be fun to jump in and do some content again that I haven't and level another character, because character leveling is really fun most of the time, in my opinion. Even though it can be a grind, if you have a friend to level with, I think it's really fun. It is fantastic gameplay. Some of the dungeon design's really good. The story of WoW is amazing. I think more and more people should really give WoW a better chance. There's a lot to discover. Even if you don't want to do PvP, or if you don't want to, be turning the Apparently, there is an Explosion Network guild that does exist on Nargrad's server. Apparently, that's one I should have joined. I'm tempted. I will be perfectly honest. I'm tempted to just jump back into some WoW again and play some WoW just for fun, just to see the difference. But we'll see what happens with the coming for Battle of Azeroth. I think I still have a level 100 character sat there from Legion, so I'm pretty excited. I hope you're excited. It's a fantastic game. People should jump into it, and I'm excited to see what Blizzard does to fix the current state of the game, and also to continue this game's rise, because unlike any other game, it's continually evolving and continually improving. It's getting better. Can't complain about that, can you? Cannot. And that's where we'll leave it. It got created when Nick was streaming WoW. I'm in charge, but I can transfer control to another member. That is not Nick. That is not Nick. Yeah, I wouldn't want to transfer membership of a guild to not Nick. To Nick. That'd be a scary guild. The Overlord. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about World of Warcraft. But moving on to my favourite Overwatch game, I'm not biased at all when it comes to this game. Favorite Overwatch game? Favorite Blizzard game? Because Overwatch, there's only one. Imagine if there was more than one Overwatch. That would be cool. But just a quick going over Overwatch news at the moment, because there's been some big things happening. The playoffs are currently happening in the esports scene for the Overwatch League. There are currently the semi-finals going on between New York Excelsior and Philadelphia Fusion, and also the LA Valiant facing off with the London Spitfire. And it's brought up some interesting conversation that I want to have about esports. Wait, actually, speaking about esports, I read before we went live tonight, I read that it's just been added to the Melbourne Open, so the esport event that's happening in September 1st and 2nd, it's just been added a Minecraft tournament. What the hell is a Minecraft esports tournament? I had to read this up, because I read it and went, you what? What are you talking about? And apparently they're mostly split into two sections. You have a creative segment where you're trying to show your creative fidelity and control of Minecraft, building something if to some kind of topic or question, or just building something for the hell of it. And the second stage is survival, where you have to survive as long as you can for a certain period of time, and the winner is whoever has the most XP by the end of it. I don't know, it just sounds ridiculous. I can't believe esports and Minecraft has an esport. Weirdest shit in the world. We'll see how that goes at Melbourne Open. I'll actually probably check that out, because that sounds ridiculous enough to be interesting. But going back to Overwatch, so there's been an interesting conversation happening, because the way the playoffs worked was that the people that finished the top in their group in the Atlantic and Pacific region for the season got a bye. So they got the first game of the playoffs off. So LA Valiant and New York Excel have both not played yet for the last 3 weeks. Well, last week the other 4 teams fought it out and have now placed in the semis. And so yesterday we had the first match of each series, and both the Valiant and NYXL, the 2 teams that were the best 2 teams in the league, both got stomped. Both got epically stomped. And I could not believe it. I could not believe it. And it's to show, and it happens in real life sport as well, it's not too much of an advantage to go first. It's not like to not go first, to have a break. Because both Philly Fusion and London Spitfire have all this momentum, they have all this power, all this confidence coming into this semi-final from last week's games. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous to see. I'm going to be interested to check out both games. I believe tomorrow is going to be Philly and NYXL, and then on Sunday check out the and the Valiant versus the Spitfire games. That'll sort out whoever goes to the live grand final, which is in New York at the Barclays Center next week, which is going to be insane, which I can't wait to watch. Now, moving right along. Moving along into some more Overwatch news. Did you know I'm a Mercy player, and I've got a problem this week. Mercy got nerfed. Didn't get buffed. I would like that. No, she got nerfed. So this week it came up with patch notes for the PTR server that all supports are getting changes apart from Zenyatta. So every support are getting some change. So for instance, Ana's ulti now does an extra 300 healing. Brigida got nerfed. She now has an extra second on her stun. And there's a whole range. Check out the blog post done on the Overwatch forums. But it's interesting to me the focus they've done on supports, and I read there was an interesting article in Kotaku about support play is not something that is sold to players. If you watch the Overwatch League, there is barely any time watching supports unless you're a man named Jonak on a Zenyatta. The rest of the time, you don't really see supports doing stuff other than getting shot in the head. Because they're not too interesting to watch, but they're so much fun to play, and they're so complex, and they're so enjoyable and interesting and vital to a team. So I don't think Blizzard sees this and goes, okay, we need to make the supports more viable across the board. Because at the minute, Mercy and Yada are kind of hard to, knock off the perch of being the perfect support duo. So to see these changes happen, I don't think the changes they're putting in place have been enough. Mercy got a nerf of 17% less healing per second, with her main healing aura, healing beam being down from 60 DPS to 50 DPS. Winston mains are rejoicing. It's interesting to see the state of Overwatch. It was also, another article came out and said that toxicity in Overwatch is down something like 27%. There's 27% less reports happening in Overwatch as of lately since the endorsement system happened. So, hey, maybe more people are trying to be nice. Maybe it's working. Sometimes it feels really fake. I got loot boxes for free the other day for endorsement, so well done to me. Well done to me. If you want to check out hear any more Overwatch news, please stay tuned. Every Wednesday I do an Overwatch stream. Tweet at me at your boy Ringo on Twitter. I'm always happy to talk Overwatch, and even if I'm playing something else, just slide into the chat and ask me, because I'll probably answer the question pretty quickly. And I hope, and I want to talk about this, I want to talk about some ideas I have in some coming episodes about some changes I want to be made to characters in Overwatch, because to make them better, to make them more viable. Now, moving on to the topic of the show. The topic of the show. Because this is some funny things have happened recently. I think it's pretty funny. So in the last, what are we going to say? In the last, say, 6 months to 12 months to 18 months, there's been this massive surge in board games. There's more and more board games. I see people that I didn't expect talking about board games. Friends of mine asking me questions about board games, just expecting that I know because I'm a fucking nerd. And I'm like, what? Why are people playing board games so much? And it's really interesting. And you know what? As a whole, even though I'm a video game fan, I'm still a really big RPG, like a tabletop RPG player, as I have spoke about D&D a lot. And so to see people coming back to that space and getting more involved is excellent. There is, I've recently played Betrayal Castle on the Hill, which is a really old game, but it's fantastic. It's so much fun. It's got all the RP elements I love of D&D with a bit of changes. Achievement Hunter have just started doing a new series about board games, doing a Let's Roll series where they play a board game each week. It's like, this is fucking stupid. This is no, it's not stupid, but it's weird. It's just odd that this massive change has happened where more and more people love playing board games, and that's because I think in the last several years, it's become more acceptable to be a nerd. The society is more understanding of being a fucking nerd, and it's the weirdest thing. It's just now a part of society that people play these video games or board games to hang out and be social. It's not just Monopoly. It's not just Uno, even though Uno is ridiculously challenging sometimes. It's not those just popular board games. It's all board games coming out. The last couple of Christmases, I've got a board game every Christmas from somebody. It's ridiculous. It's really fun to see. Cards Against Humanity is a huge thing, which is not really a board game, but it's a tabletop game. And it's been fantastic to see this rise, this change. This social change that's happening where more people are gathering together on a Saturday or Friday night. Instead of going out drinking, they get smashed and play board games at their own home or their friend's house. And that's really cool. It's really cool, and I'm really happy to see it. So I think the answer to my question, I already knew it, is, are board games cool? And I think yes. And I think they've always been cool. There's always been something about board games that is super fun, and it's good to be social. And for me, I hope it's a gateway to people coming to play D&D, coming to play more tabletop RPGs and getting more into that, because those games are so fantastic and so enjoyable, and it's why I talk about them with so much passion. It's why I see people playing these games, playing Munchkin. There's so many variations of Munchkin now. I got given Rick and Morty Munchkin. There's so many different games. You know, I've got Katana's the picture of the thumbnail this year, and that's got heaps. You know, Kilobyte just said in chat he bought Deadpool Monopoly for his dad for his birthday. Board games are no longer a thing, you know, a random thing parents and friends do at camping. You know, it's becoming a more acceptable thing and a more fondly looked at thing by society. And I love that. I'm not saying it was hated in the first place, but it wasn't a big thing. It wasn't a huge thing. And more gaming stores have more and more board games. There's more and more selection. Every video game, there's probably a board game equivalent of that game coming out. Every movie has a board game equivalent of that game coming out. And that's been a trend, but it's becoming more and more. More and more in these larger games. There's more kickstarted board games than ever before. And some are amazing. Some of them sound really cool and really interesting. And more developers are getting into these board games as another way to access a new audience. And I think it's fantastic. I think it's such a smart, savvy idea. And I'm so happy that people are getting together. So I hope and I express to you, go grab a board game. Go to a board game convention. Go to something at your local town events that's centered around board game. Meet new people. Play some cool games. Learn something new. It's so much fun. You'll make some great people. You'll make great friends. And you'll have to owe me for it. So, you know, I'll call on you for a favor if I need one. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for joining me for Early Late Nights, episode 35. We've done 35 of these already and we're not slowing down. Please join me every Tuesday and Friday night, 6:30 p.m. right here on twitch.tv/Explosion Network. I'll be going through the gaming news for the week, chatting with the people in chat, as well as going through my impressions of different topics. If you can't make it live, that's completely fine. Next day, the Wednesday and the Saturday at 7 p.m, the VOD will be live on youtube.com/Explosion Network and also on all audio podcast services because we released the podcast version of the show. Check it out there, as well as getting involved. If you follow us on Twitter at ExplosionPod or at your boy Ringo from my own Twitter, we also do reruns of the show right here on the Twitch channel. So thank you very much for joining in. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a fantastic weekend full of video games, full of wins, full of gaining rank in your ranked competitive gameplay, as I hope I do. Thank you very much. I will see you later, tomorrow, today. Whenever you watch this, I might see you that day. But whatever. Stay good till then.
Listen to me.